My name is Lydia Palmer, and I'm part of the recruitment team here at the University of Toronto. And I have had the joy of recruiting students from all around the world and getting to connect with students from all around the world. Haven't been traveling this year, but looking forward to getting back to that again in the future, and really glad that we're able to share hopefully some helpful information with you today. So a few quick housekeeping items just before we get started. Did want to mention that today's session is being recorded as well. Closed captioning is available. And if you do have questions, we're happy to take questions, and we've definitely left some time for that at the end. Please make sure to use the Q&A function for questions, just so that we don't miss them. So you're welcome to use the chat if you wish, but for questions, please place them in the Q&A just so that we can make sure that we see them and that we get them answered. So as you can see, I'm not here by myself. I'm very fortunate to be joined by some wonderful people today, and I'm very pleased to introduce my colleague, Erin Cannon, who is also part of the recruitment team here at the University of Toronto. So Erin, I'll pass it over to you to say hi.
Hello, thanks, Lydia. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. It's great to see so many of you. One of my favorite parts of my job is getting to work with counselors like yourselves. I know all of you work very hard with your students in terms of finding the best fit for them. So we're grateful that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to be here. And I'm looking forward to answering your questions at the end. And hopefully you'll learn a thing or two. But I will pass it back over to Lydia.
Great, thanks, Erin. And as well, you can see that we are joined by Ryan Hargraves, our Executive Director of Student Recruitment and Admissions. So we're very happy to have Ryan here joining us today. And so I'm going to pass it over to Ryan to provide a welcome.
All right, well, thank you so much, Lydia. First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your schedule to join us here. And I know we have a global audience, so I just want to say buenos dias, guten tag, buongiorno, good day, right? Just welcome you from wherever you may be tuning in. And, with that in mind, just a little bit about me. So I'm currently serving as the Executive Director of Student Recruitment and Admissions here at University of Toronto. And I'm actually nearing my first anniversary. And so I'm here 3 weeks away. But prior to that, the couple of decades before I joined the U of T Strategic Enrollment Management portfolio, I actually spent working in the US. So I'm from the United States, and the 22 years prior to coming to University of Toronto were spent working at places like University of Vermont and University of Virginia. And I've spent a lot of time recruiting students from all over the globe. And I thought it might be helpful for you to hear why I chose to come to the University of Toronto. And in fact, this is a bit of a full circle experience. In fact, I'm from a very small city in Virginia, a place called Danville, Virginia. And the first time I left the country was actually to come to Toronto as a high school student to participate in a jazz festival. And I remember, walking around and just sort of being in awe, not only with the size of the place, but, really just the sort of vibrant nature. And I noticed it was, it was super, super diverse, and it was culturally wealthy. And so here I am in, 2021, I found myself back in Toronto as a member of the U of T team. And so after I've sort of reflected on my experience here, one, I'm so glad that I made the decision to join this U of T community and to live in the Greater Toronto area. And, two, as I think about the opportunities for us as an institution to move forward, we have a wonderful foundation in place. And you'll hear during this webinar some specifics about why you might think about directing your students to consider the University of Toronto. But for me, never mind the rich academic experiences, never mind the world-class research. This is a place that I think, perhaps unlike any other, celebrates culture. And I've referred to, and others have referred to, various cities around the world as melting pots, right? Where all of the elements come together and create this unique culture. But I think the really nice thing about the University of Toronto is I prefer to call it instead a mixing bowl. And that is when folks come here and they bring their culture, when they bring their unique experiences, they're not expected to sort of meld into a singular culture, but culture here is celebrated. Cultural variance is celebrated. And that's one of the beautiful things that I've enjoyed with regard to living in the greater Toronto area. And so with that in mind, I do think that just prior to, as I reflect on my experience prior to coming here, I was in Portland, Maine on vacation. And I had on my Toronto Blue Jays polo shirt. And a gentleman says, "Go Blue Jays." And so I, of course, engaged him in conversation. And it turns out that he had lived in Toronto. He was also from the United States, but he lived in Toronto for a number of years. And he said, "You're going to love it there." And he totally did a sales job on me, even though I'd already decided that I was going to take the job. But he said, "It's so safe. It's so culturally rich. It's just so awesome." And so that really set high expectations, for the experience that I would have. And it's certainly not disappointed. So with that in mind, I just want to say thank you so much for considering the University of Toronto on behalf of your students. We're here to serve, we're here to help you. And so if there's any, questions during this webinar or beyond, please do not hesitate to reach out. But thank you so much for your time and attention, and have a great rest of your day. And with that, I'll pass it back to Lydia.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks so much for sharing all of that, and happy anniversary in a couple of weeks. It's hard to believe it's only been a year. It feels like you've been here forever.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I also wanted to echo, as Ryan just mentioned, that we are here to help and answer questions. And Erin and I were just reflecting before we got this webinar started how much we really enjoy connecting with counselors and answering questions and getting to know you. So if there's anything at all that we can do to help with the process or questions that you have just about studying in Canada in general, it doesn't have to be specific about U of T, that's why we're here and happy to help. And today's presentation is going to cover a lot of that information. As I mentioned, we're happy to take questions at the end if there's anything that isn't clear or you'd like a little bit more information on. We'll give a brief overview about studying in Canada, and then an intro to the University of Toronto, as well as a quick walkthrough of our application process, because it is a little bit different than you might be finding applying to some other schools. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our Study in Canada portion of today's info session. There's a lot to share about Canada, and one of the main reasons why international students do choose Canada as a destination to pursue post-secondary education is for many reasons because of the nation's highly recognized quality of life. So some of those things that Ryan was mentioning, the safety, and I loved that mixing bowl. So absolutely, there's a lot of quality of life here, and we're a very welcoming country. We embrace the diversity and multiculturalism of everyone who lives here. And in terms of rankings, Canada does rank among the best countries in the world, as Ryan mentioned, for safety, for economics and political stability, healthcare system, and our education system is absolutely up there as well. So all of this together does make Canada a really great and welcoming destination for international students who are looking to study outside of their country. So we have a very diverse country as well in terms of our landscapes and our community options for students. So here's just a couple of shots from some of our coasts as well as in between. We do have everything from urban to rural. We're a huge country in terms of our land mass and size, but we absolutely have very small communities within this broad area. And it can take about 6 hours to fly from Vancouver, which is on the West Coast, to Halifax on the East Coast. So it does mean that there's lots to explore. There is a train that runs from coast to coast pretty much as well. So there's definitely ways that students can experience exploring and traveling as a student once they're in Canada. And we do have the advantage of having a mix of city styles here. There's metropolitan cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, for example, but then we have some incredible geography, including the Rocky Mountains and the Canadian prairies, as well as 3 ocean coastlines. So I've made it so far to 3 of the tips of Canada, the end points. I'm hoping to get to the 4th, and every end of Canada is totally different from another. So it means there's a huge variety of geography, and it can suit whatever students are looking for. And one question that we tend to get a lot from students international, and it's definitely understandable, is what is the weather like? And we do have 4 seasons, so 4 complete full seasons. We do have hot, sunny weather in the summers, as well as cold and snowy temperatures in the winter, and then everything in between. So students absolutely enjoy the mixture of weather and temperatures once they get here to Canada. And the quality of our education system is, one of the big reasons why international students choose Canada to study, is because they know that they'll receive an excellent education. And the majority of our post-secondary institutions, they are public. So according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Canada is one of only a handful of countries with above average spending for education. And then specifically for post-secondary education, where we spend more than 2% of our GDP. So our government really does focus on making Canadian education a priority, very high quality. And because of this, we can ensure that our 96 public universities and our 127 public colleges really do offer the highest quality of education to our students, including domestic and international students who are coming from abroad. So today, we're going to focus primarily on the public universities. That's what this presentation will focus on. There are some private universities, as well as public colleges and private colleges in Canada as well. But for this session, we thought it would be most helpful to talk about the public university system in Canada. And Canadian university degrees, they are well recognized internationally. That's one of the biggest questions I tend to get from students abroad as well, is can I bring my degree back to my country? Is it going to be recognized? Absolutely. And many of our universities consistently appear in the top 50, top 100, and top 200 universities around the world. And our graduates are well represented at top graduate schools and professional programs around the world. So whether they're going to a different job or planning to apply to graduate school or postgraduate school, their degree from Canada is going to be well recognized and will serve them very well in the future. So another aspect of studying in Canada that's very enticing for students is that they're not restricted to a particular pathway. So once a student gets to university, there's a lot of flexibility in the types of courses and the programs that they can choose. So this is particularly great because students really can combine different programs together in one degree. And in most cases, the best part is they don't have to choose their programs right away. So students usually have at least 1 full year to determine which specific majors or minors they'd like to pursue. And this can be really great because, as we know, students change their minds. I know I changed my mind, found my way. It offers a lot of flexibility for students as they're making these decisions. And this is absolutely the case at U of T, which I'll be sure to talk about a little bit more as we go through the presentation. In terms of academic preparation, Canadian degrees are rigorous. So students do leave with a very high education, but also as students are coming in to the education system, it's expected that they have a high level standard of education. And just to give you an idea of how the Canadian secondary education system works, it's standardized by province. So every province has a standardized education system, and this means that Canadian students are very well prepared in specific prerequisite courses, and this prepares them for successful advancement in university if that's the pathway that they're taking. So we have this equivalent expectation of students for anyone applying from outside of Canada. So as an example, for students who are looking to study business, they are expected to have a very strong competency in math. And then students who might be interested in science or engineering also should have strong competency in the physical sciences. So typically, students will have 1 year of pre-calculus and 1 year of calculus for business, plus 2 years of physics and 2 years of chemistry in high school, for students who are planning to go into science and engineering programs. So that's very general. I realize that's a little bit vague. It's not giving the specific courses, but generally speaking, that applies to most Canadian public universities and what they're looking for. And another area that really sets us apart is our hands-on learning. And this is one of the most popular aspects of Canadian post-secondary education. Many of our institutions do offer different ways for students to gain valuable experience while they're studying and get great hands-on experience. So this could include paid work experience or for credit work opportunities. And typically it's related to a student's degree program. So they're getting experience, they're maybe making some money as well, making connections, which also is important as well. Most universities do offer fantastic undergraduate opportunities in research as well as study abroad programs. And international students are able to work part-time while studying, and graduates of Canadian institutions are eligible to apply for a postgraduate work permit. So this allows them to stay in Canada for up to 3 years after graduation, which a lot of students are interested in. Even as they're coming from high school, they're thinking ahead. They may wish to stay in Canada after. Currently, we are set up to allow international students to apply for a postgraduate work permit. And we did mention how welcoming Canada is. I'm so glad that Ryan touched on that. It is very much a huge aspect of the Canadian education system and Canada as a country. And for a student, that does stem to their experience on campus. And there are so many different ways for students to get involved and to build a community. And that could be through relationships that they form in residence, leadership opportunities. There's going to be clubs and organizations regardless of the institution. So there's lots of ways that students are going to find their community in this welcoming country. And universities also offer student support from academic advising. We have accessibility services, we have career centers, health and wellness services, and more. So students can be assured, and parents and counselors can be assured that we have many safety mechanisms in place on our campuses, because we really are looking out for their well-being, and understand as well that international students, they have specific needs or transition areas that we can assist with. So we make sure that our international students are feeling welcome and that they have the support services that they need to be successful. As well, Canada has been recognized as offering a high quality education at an affordable cost. And then this is especially the case as you compare to other countries around the world. So this is an average cost of tuition and university fees. It definitely does depend on the institution, the location, the residence type. So there is a range, and we do recommend always looking into a specific institution and program to find out what the exact costs are. But we also mentioned that students want to factor in the cost of living, traveling here to Canada and back, if they want to do any travel while they're here, their books and other miscellaneous costs. So this is just kind of a quick snapshot, but then most institutions also are very clear and upfront about how much it would cost for an international student. And don't forget that Canadian exchange rate, that might be a helpful factor as well. So scholarships and awards are also an area that I know lots of students are interested in terms of financing their education, and they are generally available across Canadian universities. Typically, they're based on academic merit, but there are also some scholarship opportunities that may require a supplemental application. So these are areas that students can use to highlight extracurricular activities or areas that they think might be a reason why they're a good fit for a university, and that could be considered in a scholarship application. In terms of needs-based awards, this is a little bit trickier because as a public university system, financial and needs-based awards are very limited, and if any opportunities are available, they are quite few. So we do encourage international students to consider financial aid from their home countries because, again, awards and scholarships aren't guaranteed. So generally speaking, we ask students to consider all of their funding options and to take into consideration all of the fees in advance. Again, many universities do offer great scholarships and awards. They're just not always guaranteed. So it's always good to plan ahead for those costs. So that was just a quick snapshot and intro to study in Canada. There are some great resources online that do share more information about studying in Canada, how the process works. We do have our Ontario University's Application Centre, which is like a common or a central application for Ontario universities. Similarly, in British Columbia, they have Education Planner BC, as well as some great resources where you can check out all Canadian universities and what we have to offer at EduCanada and Universities Canada. And of course, if you have any specific questions about that, we are happy to answer those. But I did want to share with you a little bit more about the University of Toronto, and then Erin is going to talk about our application process and how that works. So at U of T, we are Canada's #1 university, and we're also Canada's flagship university for research and discovery. So this is something that we're very proud of, is that our students and our faculty, they don't just teach and learn, they really do redraw the boundaries of what there is to learn. We're always looking at new research, new ways of learning, and we have an incredible reputation for our academic strength, our leadership in every discipline, as well as the cutting edge work that we do in the lab, in the studio, and in the field. So it's no wonder then that we're not just Canada's best university, but we're also one of the world's best universities. And when you graduate with a U of T degree, just like I was mentioning with a Canadian degree, a U of T degree, you truly can take it anywhere and be sure that any employer around the world will be impressed, because a U of T diploma is globally recognized mark of quality and versatility. And as a result, we have over alumni living and working in over 190 countries around the world. So some were Canadian that moved abroad, but then we've had a lot of international students who have come and moved home or gone elsewhere around the world. So it's absolutely a versatile degree and diploma for international students. And we're ranked in the world's top 20 year after year, in part because our campuses do attract the best and the brightest from all over the world. So you might be familiar that insulin was discovered at U of T, but maybe some things that you weren't familiar with was that stem cell research started here as well as the world's first nerve transplant, the world's first electronic pacemaker, and the world's first treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma. So these are just a few examples of U of T's many contributions. And we've also produced Oscar winners, Olympic champions, prime ministers, Nobel laureates, and best-selling authors, like one of my personal favorites, Malcolm Gladwell. And something that's great about the University of Toronto is that when you live in the Greater Toronto area, you're just steps away from hundreds of vibrant communities and neighborhoods, each with its own distinct character and flavor. So all of those good things that Ryan was mentioning in his intro that make Toronto so fantastic, U of T students have all of that pretty well at their doorstep. And we've been ranked by the BBC as one of the world's most diverse cities. And there's definitely lots of contenders, but we are absolutely up there. So just as an example, half of Toronto's population was born outside of Canada and speaks languages other than English. So again, it's a very safe city in a safe country. It's clean, it's delicious. We talk about food a lot here because we love it and there's so many good options. So there's lots to take advantage of and there's something for everyone. And that can include limitless opportunities to network, to collaborate, and to innovate. So we know that that's a big piece for students is learning in the classroom, but also taking that outside of the classroom as well. So there's some fantastic things in Toronto that students get to take advantage of. We are North America's second largest financial services district. So we're second to New York. So that's great for business students and economists. We also host the Toronto International Film Festival, which rivals Cannes in prestige and influence. We are anchored by the Toronto Stock Exchange and one of North America's largest design industries. So that's huge. And the GTA really is an economic powerhouse and includes some major industries like biotechnology, healthcare, fashion, and aerospace engineering. And not only are our campuses nestled in Canada's economic heartland, we're just a stone's throw from world-class museums, restaurants, open-air markets, parks, galleries, street festivals, and live music for every mood. And I remember when I moved to Toronto as a student, and it was probably my second week at U of T, I was just walking around the city at night and looking up at all the big buildings and the museums and just thinking, this is amazing. There's so much here to take part of and to enjoy. And something that's quite interesting, actually, is that U of T is older than the city of Toronto. So all of this wonderful diversity and richness has grown up around the university. And for that reason, our campuses, they are heritage sites. They're filled with landmarks and architectural gems. And it truly does attract lots of tourists, scholars, investors, and top talent from the world over. And not only are we older than the city of Toronto, U of T is actually older than Canada because we were founded before Canada was officially a country back in 1827. But other communities have called these lands home for far, far longer. So it is very important to us that we acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates, because for thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And today, this meeting place is still a home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. And we are grateful, and I'm personally grateful to have the opportunity to have studied and to work on this land. So I mentioned that we have very much a central location in Toronto, in the GTA, and that has allowed us to grow into Canada's largest university. So we have nearly 200 academic departments and institutes and 10,000 courses. So this is the country's largest selection. And what this means is that students have the advantage of choice. So one of the first choices that students get to make is which campus they'd like to study at. And we do have 3 amazing options for students. And this is often one of kind of the first areas that students might question about what are the differences between the 3 campuses? Are they all the same? Are they all U of T? So we'll talk about the 3 campuses and how they work together. And they're all located about an hour of each other. They all offer the same top quality education, and they're all self-contained. So what's great is that when you graduate from U of T, you earn the same U of T degree, regardless of the campus that you studied at. It truly makes no difference. The difference is in the environment and maybe the program that a student wants to study. So it really comes down to personality and fit. But they're all University of Toronto. We are one university. We've just got 3 campuses in different locations to serve students in the way that suits them best. And we've got a little bit of a map here just to kind of show you where all of this is placed. According to Times Higher Education, multinational employers have ranked U of T number 8 in the world for alumni employability. So our graduates do take their degrees and become leaders all across the continent and all across the world as well. So that's all courtesy of Mississauga's very own Pearson Airport, which was named for U of T alumnus Lester B. Pearson. So this does mean that our students enjoy convenient access to every major city in the Americas and nearly 200 destinations worldwide. So again, no matter which of our 3 campuses your students may be interested in or choose, or where in the world they're thinking of going after university, they will have their pick of jobs and connections, and their U of T diploma will speak for itself. So going back, I mentioned Mississauga and the airport. I did want to talk quickly a little bit about each of the campuses. And the Mississauga campus is about a half an hour west of downtown Toronto, located in the city of Mississauga. And it's a mid-sized campus with about 16,000 students, located on 225 acres of gorgeous green space, complete with trees, woodlands, and gardens. So it's a very beautiful campus, very well known for spotting deer most days there. So it has a very lush green feel to it. And most of the buildings are newly built, so it has a very modern feel to it as well. U of T St. George, on the other hand, is filled with heritage architecture, and it's U of T's founding campus. So that means it's right at the heart of downtown Toronto, with 35,000 undergraduate students and a wonderful mix of Gothic buildings and brand new glass and steel towers and labs. So this has the old and the new, something for everyone, and it's just steps from all the city has to offer. And our 3rd campus, U of T Scarborough, is about a half an hour east of the downtown core. And this is university's co-op campus. So it has co-op programs in more than 45 fields across the arts, sciences, and business. And it's a mid-sized campus with about 15,000 students, located on over 300 acres of parkland in the Highland Creek Valley. And it's complete with beautiful hiking trails. So much like U of T Mississauga, U of T Scarborough is home to many newly built facilities and state-of-the-art complexes, and the campus continues to grow. So I've talked a little bit about where you can study. I do want to touch on what we have to offer in terms of what you can study, because we do have 5 distinct learning communities, and that includes arts, business and science, engineering, architectural and visual studies, kinesiology, and music. Now, arts, business, and science do make up the largest set of program areas across our 3 campuses. So if your students are interested in applying to the Faculty of Arts and Science on the St. George campus, they will apply and become part of a smaller community, which is called a college. And every arts and science student on the St. George campus is a member of a college with its own heritage and traditions. So if your students choose to apply, they'll be asked to rank their top 3 college choices. Again, this is for arts and science at St. George. Mississauga and Scarborough are smaller, so they don't require the college system. But basically, the college provides a home base for students on the St. George campus who are studying in arts and science. And there's more details about all the 7 colleges on our website. And it's really important to us that all students at U of T have that smaller community, have that home base, and really a support team to cheer them on. It's really important to us that students are happy and are able to reach their full potential. So that's why all of our campuses, all of our faculties offer a wide range of student services. And this includes academic success centers, writing centers, accessibility services, and we do offer international student services as well. So really important to know that all of our campuses offer all of these core services. And U of T professors and TAs do provide weekly office hours to work with students one-on-one. So they absolutely have opportunities to connect, get to know their professors outside of class. We also have mentorship programs across our 3 campuses. And our students really do take advantage of these services, so much so that 91% of first-year students move on to second year, which is a higher rate than the provincial average. So all to say, no matter where students live or which college or campus they're a part of, they will have access to academic advising, financial counseling to suit their needs, and of course, countless social experiences. So that includes everything from semi-formals to food tours, student councils, clubs, and more, because we know that that's really one of the aspects that makes the university experience so rich for students. So as an example of how we care for one another here in the U of T community, our staff and our students and faculty have been relentlessly creative throughout the challenges that have been posed these past couple of years with the pandemic. And since March 2020, we poured over $12.5 million into the emergency grants for U of T students who were impacted by COVID-19. So that included covering everything from last minute airfare for students who needed to get home or come back during the initial weeks of the pandemic to unexpected living expenses. So that's on top of the $90 million that we normally disperse each year in financial assistance. And we're very proud of our alumni who have devised new ventilators and just really done fantastic work to get us through this pandemic as best as possible. And students really do care about their communities at U of T, in part because they know that the future is theirs to design. So as I mentioned in the study in Canada, one great part about a Canadian degree is students have the opportunity often to have flexibility. And at U of T specifically, they can mix and match their programs, certificates, and co-curriculars to build a university experience that captures their unique passions and personalities. And we have over 700 undergraduate program options. So there's no shortage of opportunities for students to select from. And this is the best selection of number of programs in Canada. So for students who are interested in the arts, we do offer all of the classics, including history, philosophy, literature, studio art, and over 50 languages. We also offer rigorous social science programs, including political science, economics, anthropology, geography, and many more. If you have students who are looking for the right place to study business, or maybe they want to start one, Toronto is the financial capital of Canada and North America's 3rd largest financial district. So our students really do take full advantage of this. As well, like their peers in the arts, our science students have a multitude of hands-on options, and we publish more scientific research than any other public university in North America. So students could start conducting research as early as second year, and that's not just in the sciences, that's in the social sciences and humanities as well. For students who are interested in engineering, we do have Canada's highest ranked Faculty of Engineering, and our engineering students enjoy the flexibility of choosing from one of 3 entry points. So we offer 8 core programs, including chemical, civil, computer, electrical, industrial, materials, mechanical, and mineral, as well as our track 1 undeclared first year option for students who aren't quite sure yet what area they want to go into. As well, we offer engineering science, which is an enriched, research-oriented option where students complete an accelerated foundational curriculum, which consists of advanced multidisciplinary courses. And this is before they pursue one of 8 majors, such as aerospace, robotics, or finance. And then our 3 remaining communities, they are a bit smaller in size and unique to the St. George campus. So for students who are looking for a strong foundation in design thinking or preparation for a career in architecture, interior design, or urban planning, our programs in architectural studies and visual studies might be a good fit for them. If they're leaning more towards physical therapy or sports medicine, they may be interested in our kinesiology program, which is a study of human movement through a hands-on curriculum that's packed with practicums, community placements, and fieldwork. And there truly isn't a better place to study music than downtown Toronto. And the Faculty of Music is U of T's smallest faculty, which specializes in ensemble-based learning and weekly one-on-one instruction, where students get to hone their craft under dedicated faculty members. So I mentioned that students can build a degree that's tailored to their dreams and passions. We have over 10,000 courses for them to choose from across 700 specialist major and minor programs. And basically how this works is that each course is worth either half a credit or a full credit, and each program requires students to take a specific number of credits from a designated set. So it's 9 to 16 in total for a specialist program, 6 to 9 in total for a major program, and 3 to 5 in total for a minor program. So in total, students need to take at least 20 courses across their chosen subject areas to achieve their degree. So this allows students to explore widely. They could double major in biochemistry and African studies. They could pursue a specialist in economics and a minor in art history. Engineering students can pick from 11 certificates and 10 engineering minors, which includes music performance and artificial intelligence, or they could even pursue an arts and science minor. So there are literally thousands of combinations. Students in music, kinesiology, and architectural and visual studies can also enrich their degrees. So the basic takeaway is that students can design a degree that no one's ever done before and can really suit them and their interests, and lots of opportunities to explore and build what's right for them. And they can also customize their degree through their co-curricular records. So this is a great way for students to apply what they've learned in the class to the real world. So we do offer paid work placements, as well as research opportunities and research excursion programs. And sometimes those take place out of town or out of the country. As well, if students are looking to get more study abroad opportunities, we do have formal exchange programs with over 160 partner institutions in more than 40 countries, along with a plethora of international experience pathways through summer abroad programs, paid externships, and international course modules that count towards your degree. And as Canada's largest university, students can get involved with any of 1,000 student clubs. We do have over 44 varsity blues teams, as well as our intramural sports programs, which features 11,000 student athletes competing in everything from Frisbee to rugby. So there's tons happening here at U of T for students to feel a part of, to explore, in addition to their studies and to their degree. So that's what I wanted to share in terms of what U of T, an intro to the University of Toronto, an intro to studying in Canada. I do want to pass it over to my colleague, Erin, to talk about the application process and how students can apply to the university. So I'll pass it over to you, Erin, just about what the process looks like.
Thanks, Lydia. I'm just having trouble starting my video. I think you need to reenact it. That's why you can't see my lovely face. But if you could get that sorted out, I will start talking, and then hopefully my video will show up in just a minute. But thanks so much for giving us a great introduction about studying in Canada and a great overview of the University of Toronto. Yeah, so we're going to get started. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about how to get your students from where they are today to where they want to be. All right, there, I'm on video now. Great. Lydia, if you could just switch to the next slide, that would be fantastic. So when students apply and when your students are applying, it is a two-step application process here at the University of Toronto. The first part is that they do need to submit their application through the Ontario University Application Centre. Sometimes we like to call it OUAC or UAC for short. This application opens up kind of end of September, early October. And so when students apply, what they're going to do is they're going to log on. It's only going to take about 15 minutes usually, and it's going to, if students are applying to U of T or any other Ontario universities, it's going to ask about some biographical information. And it's really here that the students are going to indicate which universities that they're applying to and which programs that they're interested in. So no documentation is sent at this part. That comes a little bit later on, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. One of the questions that we often get asked at the University of Toronto is, can you apply to more than one program? And the answer is yes, and we definitely encourage students to apply to more than one program, especially if they want to be at the University of Toronto. We do have a bit of a rule as to how students can apply. They can apply up to 3 programs, but only 1 program per division. So the next slide is going to just give us a good overview, a good refresher of kind of how the divisions and campuses work here at U of T. So like Lydia mentioned earlier, we do have 3 campuses, our St. George, Mississauga, and Scarborough campus. And then under each of the different campuses, we do have different divisions. St. George is our largest faculty, so you'll find 5 of our divisions, which are listed there in the white headers, and then Mississauga and Scarborough. So when students go to apply, obviously Lydia talked about we have over 700 program options. So if they were to list all 700 programs, we would be scrolling for days. So what we do is we take those 700 programs and we break them into what we call the admission categories. So you can see here up on the slide, under each of our divisions are the admission categories. So if your student is looking to apply for biology, they're going to find it under life sciences. If a student's interested in sociology, they're going to find that under social sciences. So students can choose up to 3 choices, but 1 program area per faculty or campus. So I'm going to give you a few examples as to how students can apply to more than 1 program at the University of Toronto. So this student here was really interested in computer science. So they applied to computer science at our St. George faculty in arts and science. They also applied to Mississauga for computer science, math, and stats, and then also computer science at Scarborough. The next student is really interested in the arts. So they applied to music at St. George, theater and drama at Mississauga, and then visual performing arts, arts management, and media at Scarborough. And then this student here was interested in a wide range of different areas. So they were interested in mechanical engineering, architectural studies, kinesiology, and physical education. As you can see, this student here applied to the same campus, but they're under 3 different programs under each different division. So we can definitely do that. The nice thing is students don't need to memorize this. If they do try to pick 1 or 2 programs under 1 division, it won't let them on the application. It's built that way. But we do encourage, again, for your students, if they really want to be at U of T, to consider more than 1 program. Now, just a reminder, if any of your students are going to be applying to our arts and science at our St. George faculty, they will be asked to rank their top 3 colleges on the application. So I know I posted a link in the chat that talks a little bit more about our college system. I know Lydia talked a little bit earlier about it, but they will be asked to rank their top 3. So again, one is not better than the other, but they each have their own different feel to them. So we want to make sure students are picking, a college that is going to be the right fit for them. So I always encourage students to do a little bit of research before kind of indicating their top 3. So once students apply through the Ontario University Application Centre, about 1 week later, they're going to get an email that says, thanks so much for applying. We're excited that you've applied to the University of Toronto. And they're going to get what we call a PIN and password to our Join U of T portal. Our Join U of T portal is a really important portal throughout the application process for a couple different reasons. First, it's going to be the first way in which we indicate to a student if they've received an offer or not. The other thing that the Join U of T portal is really helpful for is that it's going to have a to-do list. That to-do list is really important throughout the application process because it's going to let the student know what we require from them. So it's going to have things like transcripts. If a test of facility in English is required for the student, it would be listed there. Some of our curriculums do require self-reported grades form. Each to-do list is curated, personalized to that specific student. So you may have 2 students who've applied to U of T and their checklist looks a little bit different. It is because it's customized to the program that the student is applying to. It is also through the Join U of T portal that they will apply for residence. Like I mentioned earlier, it's also where they can check their application status as well. Now, some of our programs do require what we call a supplementary application form. You can see all of these programs are listed here. So these programs here require something beyond just your grades. Sometimes it's like a written essay, sometimes it's a video component, sometimes it's an audition, things like that. We will send more information to students once they apply, but it's these programs that we're looking beyond just grades. Now, sometimes I get asked, I'm interested in life sciences. I don't see that listed there. Do I need something other than my grades? If the program is not listed on here, we're really just looking for strong, consistent academic grades. There's nothing beyond, there's no actual written essay or anything like that. It's just these programs here. And again, we will send students more information if they do apply to one of these programs that do require a supplemental application, just kind of giving them more information as to what is required from them. Now, one of the other things that may be listed on your student's to-do list is an English language facility, especially if your student, if English is not a first language. These are our most common test qualifications listed here, but I also encourage students to check out uft.me/ELR. It has a list of more details as to which students we would require an English language facility from, as well as additional test qualification scores. So this here kind of gives a great summary as to what the year looks like in terms of when a student applies, all kind of deadlines. These are our deadlines for this year. They usually do stay pretty consistent. They may change, from November 7th to maybe November 6th, but this kind of gives you a good range as to what a student's timeline would look like. So like I mentioned earlier, our application does open up on the Ontario University Application Centre, end of September, early October. We do recommend students to apply by November 7th for early consideration. Our applications are open until January 13th, but by applying by November 7th allows your students to be reviewed for all of our admission rounds. So they apply by November 7th, about a week later, that's when they get their Join U of T portal. And then that's through their Join U of T portal, they will submit their documents that are based on their to-do list. All of our documents are due around February 1st. I did talk a little bit about residence. So we do guarantee residence to all of our first year students, provided that they get their application in on time, which is by March 31st. So they will indicate that through their Join U of T portal. There is a link to apply for residence. Now, the most important question is, when do those offers get sent out? Our decisions are released from December to May. We give monthly rounds. And again, the quickest way in which we update that admission status is through the Join U of T portal. I always like to make note with residence. I'm a big advocate for her residence. I absolutely love living in residence when I was a student at university, but the deadline is March 31st. So sometimes students have not received a decision yet. So I do encourage them to still, if they haven't even heard back from us, but would like to live in residence, to still apply. There's no financial commitment. It's at that time, it comes later on, but it's just filling out that paperwork on the Join U of T portal. So that's kind of what the admission cycle looks like in a kind of a nutshell, but let's talk a little bit about admission requirements. I know that we have counselors from all over the world today, so everyone is coming from different curriculums. So in order to figure out which prerequisites are required, we have over 700 first entry programs, so you can check out that website there for more information. Our admission requirements from common curriculums can be found at uft.me/requirements. And like Lydia said, we understand that COVID-19 has affected students' schooling year. We always remain flexible, and a student's never going to be disadvantaged due to COVID-19. We have some really great resources, and maybe I'll have Lydia, maybe if she has time, if not, I can pop it in afterwards to our undergraduate admission bulletin. That's my favorite resource to give to students. It lists all of our 700 programs. It also talks a little bit about our prerequisite and gives kind of grade ranges as well. So definitely my number one resource when speaking with students. All right, next slide, please, Lydia. So scholarships, all of our students are automatically assessed for merit-based awards. Most of our scholarships are automatically assessed. So as soon as somebody applies to our university, when we are reviewing their application, we're also going to review them for a scholarship. If they are eligible for one of these automatic scholarships, they would be notified at the time of offer in their offer letter. I always like to talk to you about our Lester B. Pearson Scholarship. It is our largest international scholarship. students do need to be nominated by their schools for that. You can nominate one student per school. So if you aren't familiar with the Lester B. Pearson Scholarship, check out our website so that you can nominate one of your students for that scholarship and learn a little bit more about the selection process. And then I also always like to talk about our Awards Explorer. Our Awards Explorer is kind of our one-stop place for, it's like a database so students can search all of our different scholarship options and see kind of including upper year scholarships as well. So that's also a great resource when it comes to scholarships. And thanks, Lydia, for posting those links in the chat. I appreciate it. So we're coming to the end of our formal part of the presentation. And then, of course, we're going to be able to open it up to questions. And I do see that some questions have already come in. But the last resource I wanted to direct for your students is discover.utoronto.ca. Our Discover website is a one-stop shop. It has more information about upcoming webinars that are and different events that our office is hosting, as well as our different divisions. It also has pre-recorded information, so different videos that students might be interested in learning more about. And it's also where students can sign up for our virtual campus tours. And last but not least, I always say one of the cool things about our team is that students can set up appointments to meet with us one-on-one. So a recruiter like myself or Lydia, as well as we have a big recruitment team here at the Office of Student Recruitment, who are always willing and ready to meet with your students. So you can sign up for a one-on-one appointment there. So the undergraduate admission bulletin is my #1 resource, as well as the discover.utoronto.ca. So thank you so much.